So moving on to the next topic, we're looking at strategies of teaching that have worked well. So Anya has got some comments on that. So Anya, please.
Yes, well, actually, I would like to refer to something what Jarek said like a few minutes ago, like that students often forget to focus on some grammar parts when it comes to reading and listening. Yeah, and as you said, they should pay attention to different grammar tenses used in a text. Yeah. But it's not only about the grammar tenses, but also about some other grammar construction. Like, for example, I always so that's like what I would say my first tip. So when they start reading, when they prepare to listen to a text first, they need to underline the keywords, and these are not. The keywords don't have to be like some technical vocabulary or something like that. No, very often the keywords are like the words like a few or so far, recently. Yeah. These are the words which are really important, and they often like. Even yesterday, I remember I did a text from the Battleplan 3 text. It was the last unit, and there was like a question where actually the only difference between the three possible answers was the word like a few, a handful, and I don't know, a myriad or something like that. Yeah. And it was actually the key point in that. Yeah. Because at the first glance, all the possibilities look like the same. Yeah. So I always ask them to underline like the keywords and to pay attention to those small words, which seem to be like pointless. Yeah. And the second thing, also when it comes to grammar, well, of course, it's the Stanag exam doesn't have the part use of English, but of course, grammar is important, especially at the level 3. You need to show some advanced level of that. So when I practice some, let's say, passive voice or different tenses or conditional sentences, when I give them a piece of writing to prepare on their own, I give them some specific instructions. So, for example, if you write a report, you need to use at least 3 times passive voice. You need to use at least 3 different grammar tenses, and so on. So it makes my students think about grammar when they write. So not only about accomplishing the task and all those points of instruction, but also they think about the structures that they use. Another tip when it comes to speaking, well, of course, as you said, it's not good maybe to teach them some framework, but actually I do it because sometimes it helps, especially when it comes to oral exams, which are really stressful for them. Yeah, and in a stressful situation, you can practice something like for months, and then the day of the exam comes and you forget about some crucial part of a briefing. So that's why I give them a framework for a briefing. I will show you that. Yeah, so for example, that's a simple thing, but simple things sometimes work really well. I ask my students to use that framework for a briefing. Of course, I encourage them to use different expressions, yeah, so as not to like learn it by heart. But it is some kind of a plan. And then when they have those 15 minutes of preparation before the oral exam, they can easily remember each step of the briefing, and then I can be sure that they will not forget about any of the elements. Yeah. So yeah. So that's it. Actually. Yeah.
Okay, so Jarek, I think you've got something to say.
Yeah, well, first of all, I must admit that I I give my students this framework or whatever you call it too, my own, of course, but similar to yours. There is one thing. Okay, I'll try sharing the screen again. Just one thing that can be done, that which I like doing, apart from this framework you've just shown with the language, etc. What you will see now is an empty page, and that's supposed to be an empty page for a moment. Why is it empty? Because there is something very simple that works. Okay, all right. It needs to be a bit sorry. Okay, so what you do here is uh, just this kind of chart, and that's actually the best format I can think of. This is option. I mean, you just have option A, option whatever it is, option one and option two in the next column, and then you have a column for pluses and minuses. I think this is more or less what the real decision briefing tables look like in the real world. But how do I use this? Before the students get to say anything, they basically list the advantages and disadvantages of either option. Okay, so it's like this, and then they write, of course, the advantages in here, right, and disadvantages and so on. I think I'll collapse it and stop sharing it now because this was the whole idea. Because again, I do use those templates like you do, but it's still very important to me that the students understand what they try to say. So I want them to very often to, rather than being guided by this format, I want them first to decide what it is that they want to say in the briefing, and that's why I use this. The second comment is I like the fact that you mentioned the few and FU. They are almost like opposite on the binary scale. And again, it's very easy, I think, to build a listening comprehension or reading comprehension question around these two. And I'm glad you mentioned mentioned them because I wanted to do it myself. Okay, thank you.
So I think, yeah, I mean, I agree in terms of the framework, because what I mentioned earlier about the fact that, what is soul destroying is when a student wants to just learn. This is where they literally, like word for word, want to learn a 5-minute script. Whereas I think what you're talking about, I also use in terms of Anya, what you displayed on the screen. This was not so much maybe framework. I mean, it's more just like different vocabulary and phrases that can be used in different sections. And definitely I do that. And when I'm teaching, for example, even at the level 4, the first part, which is the monologue, and you get basically just a couple of sentences to create in 30 seconds a 5-minute or 4 or 5 minute monologue from, which is incredibly difficult. And I've done it on my YouTube videos and found it in my own language incredibly difficult. So for my students, definitely, I give them a framework in terms of like how to divide the time into different sections so they can concentrate on like 1 minute at a time and not 4 to 5 minutes, which is daunting. I mean, if you try and speak just for 4 to 5 minutes without any preparation, you're going to sort of either sort of meander off and talk about something completely different, or you're going to stop because you think you've just talked about basically everything you can talk about. So I divide it into these sections so that they are any one moment concentrating just on a minute's worth of production, and then if they've done, and then they gradually build up and build up, and the third one is basically balances off the second and the first. So theoretically, you're not going to repeat yourself, and they're also going to add to it. And for the level 3, obviously, the samples I give in the book and on the demo videos and stuff is also, yeah, broken down into these very clear sections. So I think that's not maybe a negative thing. That's just an essential thing. The same as you would prepare in your own language. If you were given a presentation at work, you would also have a framework to the presentation. You probably wouldn't just sort of go in and talk for 10 minutes without any organization. So this is maybe more organization and knowing. One thing I always tell my students at all levels is, especially when we get to level 3 and level 4, is that you can usually do the task at a lower level. So if you look at a level 3 task, a good level 2 student could do the task. And the same with a level 4, a good level 3 could do the 4. But the problem is it wouldn't be at the right language level. and they often don't appreciate that, because they can walk out of an exam and be happy with the fact that they've answered the question, they've produced the the speech or whatever, or the piece of writing, and they then end up with a fail or something. And this is often because I always tell my students that any exam is a show. It's you are selling yourself to the examiner, in without putting too crude a point on it. That you have to sell yourself, because the examiner doesn't have time to dig in to know really what is inside of you. If you don't show them within that window, so if it's a speaking exam, it could be 15 minutes for level 2, it could be 24 minutes for level 3. If you don't actually demonstrate it, well, how are they supposed to obviously know? And on the writing, it obviously the same principle. And I think that some people just forget that, and they concentrate on the task achievement, and they are happy that they've achieved the task and that they've got to the end of the exam without like breaking down. But they haven't demonstrated something that in a classroom they would demonstrate. And I think that's often that they don't remember this is a show. It is a piece of theater to a certain extent, that you have to give them your best performance. And just as an actor on a stage, you have to, as a candidate in an exam, give the best performance and make and sell the piece, whatever it is, whatever piece it is, whether it's a level 4 writing or a level 3 briefing. Okay, so I think that would be what I would take from that. Are there any? I don't know if there's any comments to that, but if not, we can move on to challenges that maybe exist within Stanag teaching. So, in terms of common obstacles, Anya, I think you would like to start looking at some of the unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, for sure, that's a really common obstacle, and I think it's a problem in both private and like state section. Yes, students are very often they're very generous when it comes to assessing their level of English. Yeah, so I would say that when they reach out, they very often reach out too late. Like they, especially when it comes to level 3, I think that they believe that if they are quite communicative, that they not have any problems with communication in English, then that the level 3 will be a piece of cake to them. Yeah, but actually, I make them realize that a level 3 checks much more than only the knowledge of English. You need to be able to discuss different complex topics about the world. You need to have some general knowledge of the world. Yeah. Uh, and sometimes it's difficult in a native language. Yeah. So very often when they contact me, they like 2 months before an exam, and they don't even know the format of the exam. And also the problem with the private sector is that they expect more than in a classroom. Yes, so like I pay you the money, so you need to prepare me, and it doesn't matter that I've got only a month or 2 months. Yeah, and of course it's impossible. Yeah, you need to spend some time, no matter if it's a classroom or your home and a private lesson. So for sure, for me, it is like the greatest obstacle. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and one more, which I could say is of course sometimes the lack of materials. Yeah, because well, the Stanag exam, it's like ESP. I would say for me, it is an ESP, and sometimes there is some problem with finding materials. So it is also some obstacle when it comes to teaching English in that area. But of course, I will later show you that you can somehow deal with that. Yeah.
So thank you. And yeah, we'll be going on later to talk maybe in more detail about the ESP or not ESP aspect of it. But in what you said about the unrealistic expectations, yeah, definitely. I think all teachers have had that, where people have come very late in the day and expected to suddenly prepare. And it's something, this understanding, and yeah, at level 3 and level 4, maybe more so than at level 1 and level 2, where I remember 10, well, probably 10, 15 years ago now, Jarek will probably remember, where a lot of military personnel were operating with Americans in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they had very good. They came back with American accents, which was scary. But they had very good conversational skills. They were confident. And yet, like you mentioned, they actually their ability to talk on various complicated topics was just not there, and they just didn't comprehend that being able to speak with somebody, a native speaker or something, is, and that's something I say to all my students again and again, is that even in our native languages, most of our day-to-day conversation is level two. And if you just think about what you actually say most of the time to your family, to your friends, to your work colleagues, it's actually level two. Every now and again during the day, you will talk about something a bit more complex with one of your colleagues, or have a look at something on the news and talk to your husband or wife or something, and you will raise up to level three. Level four is pretty much, never in terms of spoken language. And that's why for a lot of people, it's a real struggle. And I've had people who've lived abroad, lived in Britain, and came back to Poland and thinking they can walk into a level four exam, and obviously that's not how it works. It's sort of this sort of unreal expectation about sort of that fluency and confidence in the language is important, obviously, and it's something we try and build, but it's not the be all and end all. And being fluent does not necessarily mean you are articulate. And I think that is something that people don't always appreciate, that these are two separate skills. And to be articulate, obviously, this is much more to do with grammar and to do with vocabulary, whereas fluency is to a certain extent just to do with confidence and time exposure to the language. I think the more time you are exposed to a particular language, the more fluent and confident you will become in that language. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can step into a level three or level four exam. So another thing that I think, when in terms of expectations, it's not maybe so much expectations, but priorities is maybe a better way to think about it. That if we think of the higher levels, not everybody needs them, and especially like if level four, very few people actually have a job in the military where level four is a requirement. Very, very few. Level three is obviously more common, but there are plenty of jobs where 2+ is necessary, and you don't need level three, for example. And often people, they want to get the higher levels, but they don't actually necessarily know why they want to get them, and they haven't necessarily had the time and immersion in language. Because I've had plenty of people who've come to an exam a few months after passing a previous certificate, and which is great. If we go from level one to level two quickly, yes, because you've been learning languages in school for a long time, and so you're probably already pretty much at level two, and it's just it's a formal process. But when you get to level three and level four, you cannot, I don't think, jump the certificates that quickly and absorb the necessary language in the space of a few months. I don't, or 6 months or something. This is something that takes a long time to firstly, passively understand the language, and then actively to start to use it. And it's often that students who come on level four, for example, just haven't had this time. They're coming far too quickly after completing level three, and they haven't had this absorption time. Maybe is the best phrase for it. So, in terms of the next topic, moving on to technology and its good and bad aspects, something that we all have to deal with today as a teacher. So, Anya, can you start us off with how AI can be used in teaching?
Well, yes, well, for sure, we shouldn't be afraid of AI. And the fact that we are afraid of that, it doesn't mean that it will stop existing. So I think it's better just to use it, learn how to use it. And of course, there are like plenty of solutions that we can use today as teachers. And I will show you a few of them, which I think will be especially useful for those teachers who start the Stanag journey and they have some problem with getting some materials. Yeah. Okay, so I will share the page. The first application is known as Twee. And it's well, for me it's really mind-blowing. Yeah, it's wonderful. You can create so many different tasks in like a few minutes. I will show you how it works. I will try to do it briefly. So for example, you can for example use some tagged vocabulary to create a text. Yeah, so I've prepared like a few words. They are taken from Battleplan course book level 3, and I think it's the first unit. And yeah, you simply okay, we didn't. Okay, you can you need to write some topic there, like it was military life and training, and then you can just choose the level. Yeah, it can be like B1, B2. There's also type of text that you can use, but just let's leave it like a text. Then the length of that, and then you do the magic, and yeah, and there you've got a text with all of the words that are on my list. Yeah, so you've got the like you can have a look at that. So they are used in context, which I think is crucial when it comes to acquiring new language. That you need a context. You just can't learn a list of words. That's pointless. And then, of course, it's not the end. And then you can actually create plenty of other exercises like word definition matching. Yeah. So yeah, it's like that. Yeah, and you've got the task, yeah, where students just have to match the definitions with the words. You can also create some discussion questions with the words, yeah. So one more time, we can, yeah, it's the military life training. And we've got some nice discussion questions with all of the words there, yeah. And what is perfect here is that you can make it interactive very quickly. Yeah, and so like the students can actually do the task. You assign the task to them simply by a link. I use simply the link. So it's a perfect solution for online classes because they don't need to like sign up because that's often a problem that students don't have time to sign up to another page, another website. Yeah, and here they don't need to do it. They just click on a link. They share the screen with me, and they simply do the task. Yeah, so so that's it. So that's really perfect. And yeah, now another one which I would like to show you is known as Mizu. And here we can, I don't know if you see it right now, but probably not because I need to switch. Okay, wait a moment. Okay, so I need to stop it right now. And now one more time, I will share. Okay, so now you can see that, yeah, that's actually also some kind of a new thing. Here you can build your own chatbot to practice speaking. And you can actually use it. I use it for homework, but I also use it in a classroom, yeah? Because you can either speak or write. I will show you what it looks like. It's perfect for a level 3 discussion part. For example, here we've got the military career, and you simply talk to your chatbot. You create it on your own. I will show it to you here. Yeah, so you give the title, and then you write your own instructions. So here is simply is a instruction for the discussion part. Like there are many factors which influence the choice of a career in the military. Discuss the following and try to decide which of them is the most and the least influential. So we've got like the three aspects to discuss. We choose the grade. Yeah, it can be the university grade, as I did it here. And then you simply start chatting. Yeah. So what is unique about that is that every person who uses that has got like a different conversation, because it all depends on what the person will say. Yeah. Yeah. So here our chatbot like starts a conversation. Yeah. And we simply either talk or write. Yeah. And he's a really intelligent chatbot. Yeah. Uh, and also, because I mentioned that you can use it in a classroom, I'll show you that. Yeah, for example, here we've got the topic of childhood memories. So I simply share the code with them, and we start a new session, and they take their mobiles. They have got like 10 or 15 minutes uh, to talk where it's a classroom situation, so they write, because it would be impossible, that like 15 people talked at one time. And yeah, we can, I will show it with the, and for example, let's look at Alicia. Yeah, and she started talking with the chatbot about childhood memories, and the chatbot asked her, "What is your earliest memory?" And here is the flow of the conversation, so you can see everything actually. Yeah, so as you can see, it's quite long, and there is also a suggested grading. Um, so it's really, for me, well, it's really amazing, yeah, because it solves a problem when you just can't talk to all of the people in a group. Yeah, so from time to time I use it. But for sure, it is only for students with quite a good level of English, okay? Because it's only a chatbot. So when a student makes a lot of mistakes, then a chatbot also starts to talk nonsense, yeah. But for level 3, it's really good, and my students really love it. Yeah. They say that they have like better conversations with the chatbot than with their friends. Okay, and then I will show you one more. Mhm. Yeah, it's also, okay, that one I will close. It's very similar to the first one, but it has got a really like, oh no, it's not that, sorry, it's not that yet. Okay, yeah, you should see now defeat, yeah, defeat. Yeah, can you say it right now? Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. So it's very similar to the first application that I showed to you, but here, as I said, it has got a really nice structure, and you can actually use there any article or YouTube link and prepare some materials based on that. For example, let's take some sample. Um, let's take some sample article from BBC. It's entitled "A Woman Will Be a Royal Marine. It's Just When." And I like take the article, and then I paste it here, and also I set like the grade and so on. And now wait a moment, it will generate the resources. It just takes a few seconds, and you can do the same with a YouTube video. Yeah, so you can also uh, use some videos there. Yeah, and we've got like adapted reading passage at the required level. Oh, I'm not signed in there, sorry. I will sign it in. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so we've got the adapted reading passage based on the article that we pasted. We've got the summary, we've got the key vocabulary words with an explanation, with an example statement. We've got the multiple choice questions. Basically, there are 3 of them, but if we need more, we can add more questions. We can have some short answer questions and some open-ended prompts. Yeah, and they are at quite a high level. So like you see, in a few seconds, I've created some quite nice task. Yeah. And the last one, which is probably the most traditional, but I really like that one too. And it's especially good for giving homework when you teach online, because when it comes to doing homework for online students, well, they do more if they have got like a quick access to the homework. It's a problem if you send them materials, they need to print them and so on. Well, it takes too much time. So what I do there, I often use website called Test Your English. It's maybe not really creative, but yeah, it looks like that. And what is special about that page? Of course, you've got all the reading, the listening, vocabulary tasks. But what is special when it comes to grammar? For example, let's try to choose the level. Mhm. Yeah, and like let's choose whatever. It can be present simple, present continuous, even. Mhm. Yeah, and of course, well, there is always the part of an explanation, which is like really nicely presented, and students really like that, especially those students at a lower level. And also, when you do an exercise, and for example, if you choose a wrong answer, so here I will use the wrong answer, and you check it. Uh, you always have the explanation uh, why it is wrong. Yeah. So, like here, we use the present simple for permanent situations or things that are usually often true. And that makes it really great because it's not about doing the task, but also understanding why you made a mistake. Yeah. So, I very often use it. And also, it's good for giving homework for listening and reading. Yeah. Because there are also texts at different levels. There's also some use of English, some writing, which can also be used when it comes to Stanag, because there are some formal letters, for example. Yeah, an apology email, yeah, email asking and giving advice. So it's really useful. Yeah, and also I forgot to show you one more thing, because when it comes to the first application that I was talking about. Wait a moment. Okay, I'm just. Yeah, because I showed you like the vocabulary task, but you can also use it in different ways. For example, I've recently used that, for example, to practicing some common phrases like for reports or memo or formal letter. So it's like interactive, so it's really quick. You can even use it in your classroom. Yeah, you can share the screen and do it with your students. Yeah, like you've got there some statements typical for a report, and then all they have to do is to like, okay, yeah, it's like the intention of the report is to, and you just click it here and here, and you've got the answer. Yeah, and then they can submit the answers, and you can check them very quickly. So it's really, really useful. Okay, so I think that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. And in terms of, definitely all the things that you demonstrated today are great, and in fact, definitely one of them interested me a lot, that I will look into later. But also, I think this whole AI thing and sort of what's been a relatively short journey in terms of the last couple of years, it's sort of hit the market, so to speak, and both teachers and students have to adapt. But one of the positive things is for me is also listening, and now a teacher relatively easily can create a text and create an reasonably authentic and sometimes scarily authentic listening activity from nothing, basically from just an app on the computer. And I find that, and this is something that when we went to do the level 2 book last year, tried to put that also with writing, because I think a lot of teachers find, and students, both teachers and students, find the context of writing difficult, and trying to imagine what it would be in a particular situation. Yeah, teachers have invariably never been in that situation. Some students have, if we're talking about particular incidents, so like level 2 incident report, for example, but level 3 as well. And I find that creating a piece of listening that you do first with some sort of listening activity first provides then the context for the writing activity. And this is something that 3 years ago was just not possible. That we couldn't just create our own listening unless you had like an audio studio and stuff on hand. And the fact that we can now sometimes, for free or for a nominal subscription to some app, some website, create a 3-minute audio which will be the lead into your writing assignment, gives a whole sort of layer of context that I think is great and really helps students. Because definitely I've had both a level 2 and level 3 students who just say, you give them a task and they're like, but I don't have any idea. I can't think of the situation. I can't imagine that situation. And you need something in order to, so obviously, bring them into that situation, and make them imagine it. And I think these AI websites are a great way of creating that material and bringing alive what would otherwise be quite a sometimes stale topic, especially if it's like a writing assignment or something like that. So yeah, I'm definitely see all the positive sides of these apps. Jarek, you want to...
If I could interrupt here, because when it comes to the audio materials, Jeremy, I know your voice really well because you often record some Stanag exams, and actually you don't have to do it anymore, yeah? Because you can know there is a website where you can just paste the text and it will be said like in I don't know 14 different accents, yeah. So so you can have like...
Exactly. I mean, good thing that I left the commission in 2021 just before chat came online. So I'd already quit before I was put out of a job. So yes, but yeah, I mean, the you can even, and that's obviously that has its own legal implications, etc. But people even obviously, yeah, you can mimic a particular voice, a particular accent, and get very authentic material that I think brings a lesson to life in a way that was just previously not possible. Even just 3 years ago, it was not possible. So anyway, so back to Jarek. I think you want to add something to this topic.
Well, first, I want to ask Anya. I want to clarify 2 points. Is everything you've shown is it all open source material, or are there something that you have to pay fees for?
Well, there's always some part which is free. So, for example, most of it actually it's free, and some more complex things you have to pay for that. So, if you want to use like some video materials, yeah, so then you probably have to pay. But usually there is some limit, like you can prepare 3 tasks a day for free.
But the functions you've shown us, are they free
Yeah, they are free. They are totally free. Yeah.
All right. And the second question is the piece of software you used to create some tasks concerning this text about this aspiring a woman aspiring royal marine. Did it actually simplify? I mean, did it adapt the text for the required level as well, or did it just create questions at a given level?
No, it adapted. Yeah, it adapted the text for the required level. Yeah.
So I think for military writing, this may be for military teaching, military English teaching, this may be a particularly useful tool, right, because the texts are often at rather high levels. So
that's true.
That's a good tool. I wanted to add 2 things. 1 or 2 things. There is I haven't used those things yet, but I've been on one teacher training event where the instructor presented a method he mostly saw as helping. It's quite similar to what you said, Jeremy, about the listening lead to writing, but he mentioned this would be useful for level 3. Using those regular, AI tools like ChatGPT or some other the Chinese thing that's been introduced recently, you can feed some discussion questions to them. Especially if you have those less intellectually motivated, less groups of students who will claim that the topic geopolitical topic discussed is too abstract for them. What you can do is both for a report, let's say this level 3 report writing or level 3 discussion, you may ask the chat GPT a question, and usually those AI machines churn out so many answers that there would be too many to use in a practical discussion. So first you may ask your students in pairs, for example, to analyze the answers provided by the AI, choose the 3 or 4 points in favor of a given option. Let's if you have this ranking tasks, level 3 ranking with 3 options, you could say, okay, choose 3 best arguments for the option. You can also ask them to, for example, choose 1 or 2 that they would like to refute, or the ones that they didn't like. So so this is a way to provide those, I would say, especially cadet, but also sometimes junior NCOs who need level 3, but will always claim that those topics are too abstract for them to discuss. You can provide them with some context, something to use, and you can even, if you want to, if you can even ask the same machine to if you want to refute a certain point, you may ask the machine what's wrong with it, etc. So just manipulating those answers provided by the AI may actually give you some basis for either a discussion or report writing. In case of report writing, my thought is of course that if you are given an original level 3 writing topic, you don't want to feed this into the into this question box of the AI interface. For example, let's say that the question is about the state of education in Poland. Rather than copying and pasting the question, you may ask what are the main problems of the Polish education system right now, and then you might ask again the machine what ways of coping with this problem do you see, and so on, depending of course how intellectually independent the students are. The number of questions may be limited, may depend on this. But anyway, that's as long as you approach this with a pinch of salt, and of the limitations of this approach, because of course again, with the lazy students, you may lead to the situation where they will just copy what the machine provided, the chat GPT, whatever provided, then sprinkle some discourse markers generously among the provided contents, and then they will give you as their own work, which may be difficult to assess, because from the language perspective everything's fine in this text. Logically it may not really be that coherent, so you don't even know how to assess that. So as I said, you have to be cautious approaching this, but I'd say this is a relatively interesting method of expanding, just introducing those more abstract topics.
Yeah, for sure. But we of course can't base our teaching on AI. Yeah, it's like more for diversity, I would say, or when there is some lack of materials. Yeah, because it's not like I don't like traditional course book. I love traditional course book, even the old ones with no pictures. Only the exercises and so on. And also, I think the students, they also appreciate traditional lessons. There is so much technology in the everyday life that actually I like recently they got really excited when I printed them a crossword to do, because that was something new that they never done before. Yeah, so for sure we need to find some healthy balance.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, in terms of some of the negative aspects, we'll be maybe talking about those in a few minutes, because obviously, as we're very much aware, there are some negative aspects to do with the technology. And like you mentioned, Anya, yeah, there's this balance, and that is, I guess, with everything, isn't it? The use of AI in any aspects of our life, it is a tool to be used, but it's not, at least at the moment, maybe in a few years it will be, but at the moment it's not something that can replace anything, whether you're talking about teaching or whether you're talking about you're a lawyer who needs to do sort of legal research or something. You can use it as a tool, but not as a foolproof method.